I don't know about you, but I beat Marvel Spider-Man 2, one of the biggest video game releases of the year, about a week after I bought it. I say that as though it's a bad thing. I really can't complain because it was a great game, and once I had started playing it, I couldn't put the controller down, and before I knew it, the game was over. In fact, when I think about it, there aren't too many games I can say I ever complete within a week or two of starting them. Mainly because I have a life and multiplayer games which I may or may not be addicted to, but I beat Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales both within a week of installing them on a PlayStation. And Spider-Man 1's 100% completion takes about an extra 10 hours compared to the other two. Again, I say that like it's a bad thing. In today's era of 100-hour games and massive open-world RPGs where you can quite literally spend hundreds of hours building bases, let alone playing through a story, it is quite nice to have huge-budget AAA games that are digestible and respect your time. But then again, I did pay the same amount of money for Spider-Man 2 as I would have for those other massive AAA games, and yet I platinumed this within 25 hours when I was really trying to take it slowly. I have loved playing every one of the Insomniac Spidey games so far, but I do ask myself once the credits roll if I actually got my money's worth from them. As much as I love these games, I do wish I looked back on them as anything more than a week's blur of unintentional speedrunning. Probably the most common way of looking at the issue of game length these days is through the hours per dollar ratio, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. This school of thought says that if you pay $16 for the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, you should ideally get around 16 hours of playtime. And while that's certainly a neat way of thinking about it, it rarely fits every experience you spend money on. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood took me around 11 or 12 hours to complete in one playthrough, but it's a game that's highly replayable, so you're likely to just about meet that quota depending on your enjoyment and how many different endings you want to see. On the other hand, you take a game like Starfield or Baldur's Gate 3, both of those games are full price, so around 70 quid, but you'll get way more than 70 hours out of them if you really enjoy them. Hell, if you have Game Pass, this ratio goes completely out the window because you basically get Starfield for free. Even comparing Spider-Man 2 to other first-party PlayStation games, it's fairly short. Even if you do a completionist run, you're talking around 24 hours of gameplay, with that being a generous markup from its 18-hour main story length. God of War Ragnarok, by comparison, came out a year ago, and according to How Long to Beat, it demands around 50 to 60 hours for a completionist run. To be honest, as much as this can be used for a very general rule, I never really think this way of measuring if a game is long enough or too short is very viable. Every person is different, right? And I can safely say that I've gotten more than my money's worth out of Hunt Showdown than can ever be measured against how much money I've paid Crytek. The other, more holistic way of measuring a game's value for money is in the level of satisfaction or significance it gave to you as a player. Did I personally enjoy the Marvel Spider-Man games? Yes. Are there things I would change about them? Definitely. Do I wish that they were just a little bit longer, or had more content in them so that the most exciting thing post-completion wasn't playing the game again in a New Game Plus mode? God, yes. These games are so much fun to play, and that's probably part of the reason that we all get through them so quickly. Insomniac makes the feeling of swinging around New York City as fun as we've all imagined it being since we were old enough to watch Spider-Man movies or TV shows. My main thought about these games, particularly when it comes to game length or time spent playing, is that Insomniac don't exactly help themselves. They might not make the longest games to begin with, but at the same time, the way that they design these games means that you are always making progress, even when you don't want to. From character progression to narrative flow to even the ways that they design the world, there are specific game design choices the teams at Insomniac make that mean you are constantly hurtling towards the end credits at light speed.
Boys said Spider-Man was at the gun club. Gotta move before he gets here.
Hey, need a hand?
Let's start with character progression. The main ways you'll unlock new abilities or upgrade the Spider-Man's gadgets in this game is with in-game currencies. City tokens and collected tech are the most basic of these. Skill points can only be used to unlock new abilities, and rare tech and hero tokens are the highest value ones for upgrades. The latter two are the ones you really want if you want the most substantial power boosts, but you don't just get those from swinging around the city. Sure enough, the most basic tokens can be unlocked by just fighting random crimes, or swinging around and seeing a blue light twinkling at you. But let's be honest, finding these crates and fighting random crimes can get kind of repetitive kind of quickly, and it's not all that high stakes at the best of times. So the main way to really upgrade your Spider-Man is by actually progressing the game, i.e. playing the main story or playing the side quest activities. Now these are fun, but there is a finite number of them. Funnily enough, there is pretty much exactly the same number of these rewards for the amount of upgrades you need to fully power up Peter and Miles. But it all just feels a little bit stingy to me. I want to upgrade Spider-Man and play with the best abilities and gadgets. Let's not forget that this is a superhero game, and the ultimate catharsis of playing comes from feeling way more powerful than the people you're fighting. But I don't want the game to end as soon as I am fully powered up. I want there to be more content after I reach that point so that I can enjoy playing as OP Spider-Man. Character progression doesn't need to be completely limited to the central content of a game. I guess you could keep the system the same and just add more side content, but there are definitely ways of designing skill trees and unlocks that don't mean you're tapping out everything by the time you finish the game. For example, Spider-Man 2 lets you choose one of 2 suit tech upgrades at certain points. Well, why not have it so that there are more optional branches to the skill trees, or have more sandbox tools to play around with based on your playstyle so that your next playthrough can at least feel a little bit different. The first Spider-Man game had distinct suit abilities that basically acted as varying ultimates depending on how you wanted to look, and it also had a Ratchet & Clank sized list of Spidey gadgets for you to use. And while that might have felt like bloat to some people, I don't think there would have been anything wrong with being able to use 4 of these at a time and concentrating on upgrading those through one playthrough. Either way, character progression is tied to the main content of Spider-Man 2, and at the end of the day, that is just another incentive for you to truck through to the end credits before you might actually want to. Probably one of the biggest criticisms I had about the first 2 Spider-Man games is that they didn't have a day-night cycle. You know, like typical open-world games do. This might seem like a small detail, but it's another thing I think contributes to these games feeling shorter than they are. Reason being, when you finish a big main mission, you might want to decompress by swinging around and playing some lower stakes content for a while. Great, the city is your oyster, but until you head to the next main objective marker, time is at a standstill. The reason this bothers me is because it feels as though the game is waiting for me to progress, like it's constantly looking at its watch and telling me to hurry up and get on with it already. Hell, at some points it'll even invisible wall you into getting to the next mission, so swinging around isn't actually an option. Let's not forget either that this is a Spider-Man game. You get from one end of the city to the other in like 2 minutes of real time. Now, I would love to come at you with some specific study or scientific research about how suspended daylight can affect your mood, but I honestly don't think there's any research that ties to video games in a concrete way. So the best comparison that I can actually give you is to the 2019 hit horror film Midsommar. That's right, I'm gonna somehow compare the Spider-Man games to Midsommar. In that film, the characters visit Scandinavia during the height of the summer, where there is 24 hours of daylight. Now, this is a horror film, and the constant daylight tied with lack of sleep makes the characters go slightly insane, and things just get weirdly unhinged. But I've always thought that from a viewer's angle, it actually makes so much of the film blur together. There's even a recurring theme where characters have no idea how long they've been in this strange camp in the wilderness because their concept of time is completely messed up. I think that there is a link to be made with the Insomniac Spider-Man games in that regard. I've mentioned before that when I look back on my time with these games, it's all just a blur of enjoyment and swinging and stealth and kicking the shit out of some New York goons. It's honestly as though someone has hit fast forward on my memories of it all, and maybe that is because my 2 hours of doing side content has all felt like 30 minutes because no in-game time has passed. In other games, an accelerated or even real-world day-night cycle can have massive implications on your attachment and the narrative themes. Just look at how Animal Crossing works.
Don't leave me hanging.
Trying to soak over here.
Not on my watch. Come on.
Then, of course, there is the pacing of the story in these games, which I'm sorry, always feels like it's going a million miles an hour. Spoilers for the plot of Spider-Man 2 here, but you go from Miles Morales dealing with the vengeful fallout of his father's murder to, oh, no, never mind, this plot thread is resolved now and Venom is biting people's heads off in the space of about 2 main story missions. The narrative themes in these games, particularly the second one, are really heavy. You're dealing with the lust for revenge of a superpowered 17-year-old. Maybe slow down and actually show him dealing with that in the wake of being a superhero that beats people up on a daily basis. On the flip side, you have Peter Parker and Harry Osborn's relationship, which in a lot of ways is the narrative centerpiece of this game. And you can really tell that the developers want you to care about that relationship. So much so that they actually put new slang by the Shins in a random basketball sequence of the game.
Gold teeth and a curse for this town. We're all in my mouth. Only I don't know how.
Looks good, I like it.
Regardless, I'm sorry, but you just don't spend nearly enough time with these characters together to have any sort of real attachment by the time the story is done. I mean, this game even goes down the 2-villain route, and by the time Kraven's story ends, the Venom stuff just feels like a complete afterthought, because again, that pivotal relationship underpins it all, and it's not given nearly the right amount of time. Now, you may disagree with me on all of that, and that's fine, but I'll ask you this. When you got to the end of Spider-Man 2, were you as affected by Peter and Harry's relationship as you were by Doc Ock's character arc in the first game? Huh? There are so many great narrative themes at play in Spider-Man 2 that are perfect for a Spider-Man game. I mean, they're arguably better than any character writing we've had from Spider-Man films in recent years, and yet the games never really seem willing to actually spend time exploring them before they move you on to the next phase of the game. Oh, Peter Parker doesn't need a job now, he's got a symbiote suit and he's in his bratty Tobey Maguire phase. Oh, what's that? You wanted more exploration of his complicated relationship with MJ before she gets a boss fight? Oh my god! They've actually turned her into a boss! Oh, Jesus Christ! To be fair, she's too busy for relationship drama in this game. She's out here stunning fools with her sable gun. I have heard it said that you can get the Platinum Trophy for Spider-Man 2 in about 16 hours, and while that's substantially less than my 25 hours, I can still kind of believe that it's doable. Even if this game wasn't shorter than most AAA experiences that come out these days, its design makes it go by in a flash. But of course, there is a flip side to all of this. It's not all that common that games, or any media for that matter, today, are willing to be contained and not try to suck up every waking hour that we have. We do live in an age where our attention span is monetized by algorithms that try to change our brain chemistry just to keep us scrolling a little bit longer. So I guess having a shorter game that is innocent of that isn't such a bad thing? I don't know what to say. I just want more Insomniac Spider-Man in my life. I was looking forward to this game like the whole year, and it just kind of sucks when it's over so quickly. But, I mean, I guess as pissed off as I've probably sounded in this video, I guess wishing that these games were longer is probably the highest form of praise that I can actually offer Insomniac. So hey, those are my thoughts on Marvel Spider-Man 2. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to help me out, please consider hitting the like button and going down to the comments below and telling me what you think. Is Spider-Man 2 too short? Is it good that it's a compact experience? I sometimes don't actually know where I stand, so I'm really interested to hear what you think. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. That really helps me out. Plus, we are extremely close to 1,000 subscribers, so if you want to make my year and be the very special 1,000th subscriber, that accolade is up for grabs. I have also finally gotten round to starting a Discord server, so you'll find a link to that down in the description below. If you want to keep up with me and what I'm playing and what I'm working on, or you just want to chat about games and whatever else, give that a look. That is all from me just now. Thank you so much for watching this, and tune in next time.